So I was talking about learning to long, unlongable. I was also talking about path of no meditation. Words like meditation are only used as a means to communicate, it's just a conventional method. Keeping things as it is, leaving things as it is. By the way, this is a wisdom that to a certain extent you will even find, I think, in great teachings of masters like Lao Tzu, I think, Taoism of China. Living things as it is, things as they are, basically. But even leaving things as they are, that is, that's already an act. And that's a big act. That's a difficult one. The reason why it's so difficult is we are just so used to doing things. We are so, our hands are itchy. We just can't help but poke at things, rearrange things, arrange things, then rearrange things. We just can't help. We have to do things. It's a certain habit. And the habit actually stems out from insecurity of the self. We have to develop net of illusory confirmation. So we just have that habit of doing this, poking things. So it's very difficult, so difficult. In reality, things as they are, living things as it is, and really just being with it is all you need. And that is the ultimate bodhicitta. That is going to release you and all others from all this unnecessary delusion. This is the thing. Again, Śāntideva will talk somewhere in the middle. This chain that binds us, the delusion, they are themselves completely illusory. Of course, the chain that is binding us, defilement, these kleshas, they are just so illusory. But as I keep on repeating, it's difficult to get used to the art of not doing things and living as it is. So, therefore, Buddha, out of his compassion, has laid out all these rituals, methods, techniques, jhanas, layers of stages, bodhisattva stages, vipassana stages, techniques such as sitting straight, breathing normal, techniques such as concentrating, somewhere on the, on the forehead, or concentrating on the below the nose, and so on and so forth. So many methods. Supposedly more than 84,000 methods. But I think 84,000 is just a very generic way of saying, lots and lot. Actually, much more than that. It was necessary because we asked for it, because that's the only way to approach to this completely pure, pristine, clear, as it is. In order to get hold of this as it is state, we have to actually create all the complications. So in other words, what I'm saying is the bodhicitta actually, especially the ultimate bodhicitta, is inborn. Tathagata Garbha, you have it. But now, there is also now we realize the bodhicitta is so important. Bodhicitta is the only one that will save us and others. So now what do? Then we do all different things, but here there is also a technique of generating the bodhicitta mind. So the second chapter will cover that a lot. Generation of the bodhicitta, cultivating this bodhicitta. And then, once we plant the seed of the bodhicitta and generate the bodhicitta, then many chapters, the rest of the chapter, is to maintain that, nurturing that bodhicitta, multiplying that bodhicitta, how to overcome obstacles to this bodhicitta, etc. So, this chapter the first chapter is about the benefit of the bodhicitta. Now, here, generating the bodhicitta. Many stanzas. Deals with what to do before we generate this bodhicitta. We accumulate merit. Most of the technique is very easy to understand as far as understanding the text is concerned. But there's something that you need to notice. So, here we talk about the grandness and the humongous and the vastness of the bodhicitta. In order to plant that seed, we need to prepare, we need to accumulate merit. So, one would think, we need to really do something, Our human mind, no pain, no gain. So, immediately we think in terms of needing to, spend energy, money, spend time, kind of a lot of sacrifice involved. Because that's the zone that we are in, we think like that. If I need to have that much return, I have to invest this much. It's not like that, as you will know. You accumulate merit through intention. As you read these things, you will realize why on earth we are not doing this. It doesn't cost you anything, and it gives you so much profit. All in the imaginary level. So, in order to generate the bodhicitta, we invite Buddhas, Tathagatas, and the Bodhisattvas. To them we make offerings of flowers. The actual ones that like this, if you can get it, but all the others, it says the flowers of all kind. Flowers from Peru, flowers from Mount Machu Picchu, flowers from, I don't know, which you can't get it right away. No need to DHL them now. All on the visualization or imaginary level. Flowers, medicine, jewels, all that. Offerings of fruits, trees, incense, as abundant as the limit of sky. Imagining, we offer this to Tathagatas. I offer this body. Now that's completely tangible and available, not just imaginary level. We offer that. We offer ourselves as a slave, as a servant to the Buddha Tathagatas. We also confess misdeeds of the past and the present, and also the future. We also offer imaginary bath house, and then offering the bath, offering garments, ornaments, perfumes, again flowers, incense, parasols, food, mansions, celestial mansions. Music. Fan. Praise, sing songs of praise. We offer this to the Tathagatas, Bodhisattvas, and also our masters. What is available and mostly imaginary level. Okay. Another thing you have to notice here also is this is already a mind training. Already you are getting accustomed to giving, offering, detaching. This is already a bad news to the usual habit of self-cherishing and self-clinging already. The Śāntideva himself said somewhere again here that a stingy, greedy, selfish person must first learn how to give from by right hand to the left hand. To this detail he has explained. Sign of compassion, sign of tolerance, and sign of really patience. These great bodhisattvas. Okay, so this is I've gone through a lot of stanzas, by the way, just summarize them. And then comes next, taking refuge. We take refuge. Now this is a kind of important point or a subject of generally all the path. Taking refuge. Refuge to Buddha, Dharma and the Sangha, of course. But the meaning of refuge is acceptance. Truly accepting. Truly wholeheartedly agreeing or accepting that fact. So it's a little. So it's not to be taken as a theistic sort of refuge to sort of some superior being. Okay, so that's something that I think we should notice. So for instance, like when we say, I take refuge to the Dharma, a genuine, wholehearted acceptance, such as that everything is impermanent. I will die, we will all die. That kind of, accepting that all emotions are, one way or another, pain, anxiety. All things does not have inherently existing nature. Yeah, that kind of acceptance. See, refuge, when you take refuge, you have to take refuge to someone who will not deceive you. That is the whole point. If the object of refuge is temperamental, changes his or her or whatever is mood, then you cannot really handle that kind of object of refuge because you don't know what's going to be the next. So this is why you can only take the ultimate object of the refuge is the Dharma, and then of course, because of that, the Sangha and the Buddha comes in. Like the fact that all compounded things are impermanent, that's not going to deceive you. That's just not going to change. That's to stay. And it is here in Pune, and it is same in Mumbai, Delhi, New York, Jupiter, Mars. This is the fact you might as well accept. And what's the point of accepting that? Because as I said right at the beginning of today, if you don't accept that, that is a delusion. Then you are cheating yourself, you are deceiving yourself. That's why we go to shopping as if we are going to live for another 1,000 years. And then suddenly you are on a wheelchair and then you suffer. Because there is, accepting that fact is difficult. It's not that easy. Yes, intellectually you can think, okay, yeah, everybody is going to die. But practically, emotionally, it doesn't stay forever, all the time. The moment a condition arises, we will immediately fall back to our clinging to this indestructible, permanent self and plan to live forever. It used to be the main theme of all the Bollywood films. I don't know, I haven't seen that Bollywood film for so long. living happily forever. And then there's always a big group photograph towards the end. Whole long lost brother, 20 years, right? That's usually the 20 years ago, they got lost and one became police and the other became the gangster and all of that, all rejoined and live forever. That, by the way, I think this is why the Bollywood sells. Because our emotional mind really likes to hear that. It's wonderful. It's like, it's so good to hear these things. That's why it says, and in a much more, twist, kind of much more different way, all the European, American literature, film, they're all never really, most of them, the popular ones anyway, they're not really different. If there are some that are a little different, then they get very few reading audience, I think. Then they get categorized into something very dark and depressing. And or again, this is another thing. Why are we depressed? Because there is no genuine surrender to the impermanence. That's why we get depressed, I think. Part of you don't want to hear the impermanence, and part of you intellectually knows there's impermanence. And I think that really makes us depressed, because there's no total surrender to this truth. So anyway, point of taking refuge, which, Buddham Charanam Gacchami, all that, the real point is accepting the fact. And accepting one who dwell on that path, the Buddha and the Sangha, therefore become also object of refuge. So there is mind training of taking the refuge, which is quite an important procedure for generating the bodhicitta. Again, there is a few stanzas of confessing all the misdeeds of the past, present, and the future. And then there is a stanza explaining, the stanzas talking about rejoicing. Okay, wait, confessing, and then there's a few stanzas on reminding ourselves that if we do not purify these wrongdoings and misdeeds, the death can enter any time without any warning. And there's quite a lengthy stanzas on the description of how the death could come, and when it comes, nothing can help. And only thing that can help at that time will be if you have genuinely surrendered to the truth, the expander of the truth, the Buddha, and the dweller on the truth, or the beings who are practicing this truth, on the way to this truth, the Sangha. And then he talks about how, because we are so paranoid about this uncertain death, and now we know death is certain to come, but we are not certain when it will come. Therefore, with this fear, we offer ourselves to Samantabhadra, Manjushri, and Avalokiteshvara. We take refuge also to the great bodhisattvas such as Akashagarbha, Siddhigarbha, and also Vajrapani. We cannot deceive ourselves thinking that today only I may not die. Even one day, even for a day, we are not sure that death will not come to our doorstep. In the past, we have done lots of not knowing the certainty of the death, not knowing and thinking that life is like a permanent. We have done so many things. When the death actually comes, we cannot take anything with us. All our friends and family, we have to leave them behind. Only the karma, our action, will follow. Therefore, I shall expose all my misdeeds of the past, present, and the future. Again and again, I prostrate to the object of refuge, and again, I confess all the misdeeds. The chapter of the confession of misdeeds. That's the second chapter. I'll let you ask some questions since I went through quite fast.
Rinpoche, in Bodhicaryāvatāra and in other Mahayana texts, one is told that bodhicitta is a mental attitude, a psychological state. The tantric texts also describe bodhicitta as part of the psychophysical system. I read somewhere that there is something called bodhicitta drops. Now, what are these, and is there anything physical that we can do or not do towards generating bodhicitta?
Yes, we can do a lot. Up to the Mahayana, the Buddhists really emphasize a lot on mind. Body has a little, if there is, it's not, even in the Theravada, body is quite important. For instance, like sitting straight. That's already becoming a technique, which only the body can do. Breathing, all that is an important thing. And as Śāntideva also said, lula tui lojate. In the Mahayana, especially the younger bodhisattvas, their attitude towards the body is like a boat that takes you from this side to the other side. So it's like a utensil which you should take care. You should not, you should not damage there's a lengthy discussion with some of the non-Buddhist and the Buddhists. They are, penance, like all the penance business. Mahayana people might not be penance towards the body, like sitting upside down for years and years, like sun bathing for many, many years, standing on one feet for many, many months. All those things Mahayana people would not agree, because Mahayana people think this is important and it's a utensil. So really, Mahayana people would not oppose, and probably you will think this is my interpretation, but I have a good confidence Mahayana would not oppose liposuctions. Mahayana would not go against a right kind of lipsticks, right kind of moisturizer, right kind of shampoo. Why not? This is your utensil, this is your slave. Treat it nicely. That's one way to groom yourself. But the real grooming is grooming of your mind. That's the real purpose. That one you should not forget. As long as you don't forget that, all the other, if it helps you to cheer up, why not? Now, when you come to the Tantrayana, then the distinctions of the body and the mind is very, very small, almost none. Although there's a descriptions of like Kaya Vajra, Vaka Vajra, Chitta Vajra, all that, it's very small. Because of that, the bodhicitta is even physically described, so to speak. So, when you reach to there, attitude is not like, oh well, body, utensil, is our slave. It's like a boat going from here to there. Then it's much more than that. Then, with the right attitude, with the right motivation, with the right confidence, even as you walk out of your room to buy a moisturizer, you could actually transform all of them into the tantric path of worshipping the deity, because the body is the deity. But this is another ball game. Right now is the Mahayana sort of thing. So, but I'm just telling you this, that's how the Tantra will approach.
Rinpoche, I had a second question. This is more personal. The more I practice, the more absent-minded I seem to be getting. Like I put mosquito repellent on the toothbrush and so on. So is this a good sign, or?
Realizing that you are becoming absent-minded is a good sign. So you should keep on realizing that. That's a good sign.
Rinpoche, yes? I'm asking on behalf of the Chinese students 2 questions. First question is, if emptiness and Buddha nature are the same, why do you first teach emptiness and then keep Buddha nature to the last year? And why do you use different names?
I think I explained yesterday about, the baby breastfeeding business. Yeah. Because some people can't take it. Emptiness, Buddha nature, many people, there's a tendency, already we love ourselves too much. Soul, soulmate, this and that, something there. And then if you say, Buddha nature, 32 major marks, 80 minor marks, the shining, the halo, then you will really end up loving yourself even more.
And the second question is, you said to aspire for creating the conditions for sentient beings to be enlightened. But as ordinary beings ourselves, we don't know what conditions would work. So should we simply aspire and not actively try to fabricate or create conditions for others to be enlightened? Or is there something that we can do?
Oh, Just, all the whole second chapter. That's the sample of fabrication. The flowers from Peru, the, yogurt from Saudi Arabia. I don't know whether they even have one. Things like that, all that is a sample. Creating the right condition. Anything, limitless. Toothpick from Singapore, whatever, limitless, big, very, very abundant. Just really, even like Osama bin Laden's beard to sweep the floor. That way also it will benefit him. He might reborn with even longer beard and whatever. Creative, be very creative. Okay?
Rinpoche, you said before that as ordinary beings we don't know who is or isn't a bodhisattva. Does a bodhisattva know that they are a bodhisattva?
When I think the first Bhumi Bodhisattva would know all below him, but supposedly not the above him, so to speak. Capacity, capacity. Second Bhumi Bodhisattva would know about the first Bhumi Bodhisattva. Who is first Bhumi Bodhisattva? Something like that. This is very broadly speaking. We have to be very specific, actually. First Bhumi Bodhisattva. An ordinary person like us, let's say, hypothetically, if you look at somebody who is on the first Bhumi, we will think he's enlightened, completely enlightened Buddha. We cannot differentiate. Quite a seasoned Bodhisattva, maybe not the first Bhumi Bodhisattva, but quite near. When they look at 10th Bhumi Bodhisattva, absolutely no difference. Actually, even there are many shastras and sutras, description of the 10 Bhumi Bodhisattvas. When you reach to the 10th Bhumi Bodhisattva, the descriptions are like mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. It's almost like you can just take it as poetry almost. Like the 10th Bhumi Bodhisattvas could, in one moment, enter what is 1 and 80? 100 million, right? 100 million. So counting that 100 million as one, and then you count again, and 1 billion of that. In one moment, that amount of sentient beings' mind stream he can enter. Cannot fathom. If I can enter 2 people's mind in one moment, I will go crazy. First of all, I can't enter. Secondly, even if I do manage, oh my goodness, especially if there's this German and there's also, I don't know, whoever, what goes on in people's mind? It is, I don't know, it's everything mixed, sadness, joy, scary, love, hatred, insecurity, panic, relaxation, everything bundled up in one moment. Wow. How are we going to even express that? How are we going to conceive that? How are we going to chew that? The only way, I can only say it will be scary for me. I cannot handle it. And these are important powers. Okay, right now, the closest thing that we can use as an example is something called intuition, right? Intuition. Sometimes I think he thinks like that, and it sort of clicks. Intuition. But the intuition that we are talking is like very pathetic and very, 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 very handicapped intuition. But we are talking about amazing intuition. Like a really big intuition. Intuition that never even have to rely on the past experience. Fresh intuition. Not conceivable. We are in the zone. Watch Stalker. I'm giving you example. There's a Russian film called Stalker. It's good. I don't know, that's my interpretation, okay? Because that Stalker film is very obscure in a way. You might have to watch about 5 or 6 times to understand. Make sure that you have a good headphone if you're watching on a laptop, or good sound system, because sound matters. But for me, the Stalker is how when somebody have an extraordinary intuition, he cannot fit with the other world. And then imagine, you have that kind of intuition, and yet you know how to play with the world. That's even more powerful. To the certain, the closest thing that I can tell you as an example is the mother's love for the kid. The kid does all sorts of things, but tirelessly and with a total openness, the mother accepts it and understands it. Mother understands this. When you are not a mother, like some of us, we can't understand why this mother or the father loves this kid's ridiculous logic. How can he or she accepts this? To this, that's the closest thing I can give you as an example. Yes.
You had in the earlier session said we need to work with the mind.
Need to
work with the mind. And we have spoken about there not being any self. So I get a bit confused. Then whose mind is it? Because I tend to think about the mind and self as one and the same entity.
Okay, classic problem. We are now, this is going to be a problem throughout, because we are talking the relative truth and ultimate truth as separate and as one, So, even when Buddha taught in the, where did he teach this one? I think so. Not Abatamska. I'm sorry, it totally went out from my... Anyway, the question was, what is mind? And Buddha gave answer with 3 elements. Semla, sem machite, sem jirangjini versarbao. This is a Mahayana Sutra, okay? Semla mean, I'm sure someone could find this in Sanskrit. It would be much more powerful, I think. Here, some Sanskrit scholars could find this out. Anyway, semla means on mind, or above on mind, I think, on mind. On mind, or, well, the modern translation is mind, there is no mind. Mind is luminous. This is one answer, but three elements. The first, when he says mind, he indicates there may be a mind. But then immediately, he said there is no mind. Immediately after that, he said mind is luminous. These are the intricate skill of explaining things that cannot be explained. So, yes, to answer your question, this illusory self need to be defeated illusorily with the help of illusory path and achieve liberation, which is another illusion. That's how you have to sort of combine. That's the only way. Okay. Yeah?
Rinpoche, at a relative level, for a lay person like me, who is trying to understand the actual value and the merits of meditation, so from an intellectual understanding, when the mind meditates, what exactly happens?
Okay. I will answer you now. And can you ask that question again if we are still alive and if you are coming back during the meditation chapter? This is a very valuable and it has a lot of layers of answer. When okay, there's thousands of pages of literature explaining this kind of question, coming from experts, and these are valuable. Of course, the Indian great masters, they have amazing, priceless gem advices. Not just advices, techniques, pithy instructions. Of course from the Indians, but even from the Tibetan great masters. I will tell you one thing. And it depends, different people, different... Okay, so there's a great Khenpo Ngakchung. It's very recent, actually. Khenpo Ngakchung maybe only about maybe 100 years ago. He has amazing meditation instruction. But we know that he usually teaches to nomad. So he used nomadic examples, which for many of the city dwellers don't understand what it is. One really good one, I really like it so much, his example. When you meditate, he says, as you meditate, your mind will become, the experience will become like a fly on the horse's bum. And it is so beautiful, actually. It's such an image. It took me a long time, because, these things you can only ask a nomad lineage practitioners. And by the way, sadly, even these expressions, the understanding of these expressions are dying now. Because rapidly dying. In about 20 years' time, they will read this analogy, horse's bum. People might even correct this, thinking that this is a wrong typo or something. Because in the middle of a holy teachings, there's a fly on the horse's bum. What is this? This has to be a mistake. But it is explaining something quite amazing. What he's saying is that usually, when horse's bum is very shiny and, slippery, very shiny. So when the flies land, it skids a little bit. Our mind, right now, when it lands on something, is like a cow dung. Worse than that, it's with a glue, like a honey. It just sticks. And then it's, like if you try to pick it up, it sort of half stays there, half stays on your finger. You understand? That's how our mind works. But as we meditate, then our mind becomes, you look at a desirable object, it skids. So, no desire. You understand? So this is what happens. I think I'm only partially answering you, but that is what is supposed to happen. Not landing, basically. Not comfortably landing and parking there. When the mind is not parking permanently or even temporarily, then mind is becoming free. And by the way, if you encounter a person whose mind skids when it lands on the object, first, and if you live in this zone, from this side of zone, you are looking at that person whose mind is skidding all the time, you will think he's a bit mad. Because what you value, like position, power, money, attention, he doesn't. Then you will think, oh, he's not a normal human being. Because our interpretation of normal human being is someone who acts like a honey or a cow dung. More like a cow whose stomach is not so well. Then we think that's normal. So that's what's happened to it. And that's possible, that you can do that. That much, I would say, if you keep on doing meditation every day, I don't know, maybe an hour or 2 hours, if you keep on doing, I think year 2026, you will skid quite violently, I think. But is this what you want? You have to decide. Because if that's what you want, bear in mind, you may not get a job in banks or, I don't know, where, conventional expectation is important, you will not get any job. And your family might also think you are not, they will actually think something have gone wrong the way they brought you up. They don't realize that you will be saving them. Actually, forever. So, there's no point of trying to tell them that skidding is more important than parking. You should just pray and have aspiration. Because in the future lives, they will become your disciple or whatever. And then you can easily teach them how to skid.
Rinpoche, why wish to enlighten all sentient beings is much easier than achieving?
Achieving?
Than to achieve the world peace.
Oh.
You asked that yesterday and told us to ask you today.
What is world peace, by the way? I don't know what is world peace. What is world peace? What? That's really good. What? I think we only have a few minutes, so I won't begin with the third chapter. Yes, David?
Rinpoche, you've said a few times about practicing being incompatible with worldly pursuits. You said it about 3 times. Governing and...
What?
Governing yesterday. Governing. You said that yesterday.
Governing?
That you couldn't do that. You couldn't...
Oh yeah, you can do very much. Very much. Everything.
And just now you said to Sanjeev, he couldn't get a job in a bank.
Yeah, but then you become a really good leader. You really become a good governor. Do you see the point? Do you see the reason?
Yeah, but it sounded like you were saying that they were incompatible. That's what I didn't understand.
Can you go like that?
It sounded like you were saying they were incompatible. And also yesterday you said that...
Oh yeah, it is incompatible, but Paman, it's like a lotus in the mud. You have to decide to grow in the muddy water. That's the Bodhisattva's decision. More muddier and murkier the water, the lotus is more healthy.
And yesterday you said that to understand genuine Buddhism, very few people can do that. I think you said that yesterday.
I don't remember what I said yesterday, actually. Okay, we take a lunch break.